In this video we're going to look at some different examples of how you can write the code for a shooting game. So in this first example, this is where you shoot up the screen in this direction here. Okay, that's the first example. The second example that we've got is where you move vertically up the side of the screen and you fire across. So in this example, if I press the play button, the rocks come across and then you shoot the rocks there, they come across. This third example is slightly different. We have a snowman in the middle of the screen and I can use the arrow keys to rotate the snowman and the space bar to fire. So slightly different because we have to turn in lots of different directions here. So like lots of things in Scratch, there's more than one way of doing something. So in this particular example, what I'm going to show you is I'm going to show you how one way to make the laser fire out of the rocket, and then we're going to show you how you can make NPCs fire back as well. So let's look at the rocket first of all. So first of all, the important code is actually in the laser that goes with the rocket. So you'll see I've got the rocket here, so this is the rocket, and then I've got the laser, which you can't actually see on the screen at the minute. So what I've done for the laser is I've painted this. So I've just gone to the costumes and I've just drawn a yellow line down the screen. Now it's really important that when you draw the yellow line, if you look carefully on the screen, you'll see that there is like a black circle with a cross in it, a target. And it's important that I've got to draw the laser so that it's on top of that, so it's right in the center of it. So if I fire the laser now, you'll see that the laser comes out of the rocket. So if I just click it, it comes out of the rocket. But if I move this, if I drew this over here somewhere and now try it, you'll see that it comes out of the side of the rocket in the wrong place. So you'll see it comes from the side, it doesn't come from the middle. So it's really important that when you draw this, you actually put it so that it's there. So when you fire it, it's going to come out of the center. Right, so we've drawn the laser. Let's have a look at the code for the laser then. So to start with, what I've done is I've said when the green flag is clicked, we're going to hide this laser. So you can't see it when the game starts. And then here we've got when the space key is pressed, we're using the Lux blocks of code to say show. So when you press the space key, you can see it. So if I click this now and just try this now, you'll see that the laser just appears. But what we also want to do is we want to make it go to the right place. So that's why we're using this go to. So you'll see I've got this from here where it says go to random position, and if I click the drop down arrow, then I can move it towards my rocket. So this is another reason why it's always a good idea to name your sprite. So mine is called Rocket here. It's not called Sprite 1, so it makes more sense. So I've said go to Rocket. And then what I've done is I want to change the Y coordinate. So the Y coordinate is, as you can see here, the coordinate that goes up the screen here, so the vertical coordinate, and I want to change it by 10, and I want to keep changing it by 10 till it gets to the top of the screen. So what I've done is I've just, by trial and error, I've just worked out if I repeat that 30 times, change by 10, it will get to the top of the screen. Now this isn't the only way of doing this. I'm going to show you a different way of doing it, but when it gets to the top of the screen, I'm going to hide it. So I've put this underneath this repetition, so it goes up by, basically that's 300, isn't it? It goes 300 spaces up the screen, and then it hides when it gets to the top. So if I fire the rocket again, it goes up the screen every time I press the space bar, and when it gets to the top, it disappears. Now the code for actually making the rocket disappear, we've got a separate video on collisions. So when it hits the Space Invader, then the Space Invader will play a sound, disappear, you get points. So we look at that in another video. So that's all in a different video. So let's have a look at some other ways that we can make the rocket fire. Let's have a look at another game and see how it's done there. Okay, so in this example of this game where we've got the spaceship moving up and down the screen on the left hand side, we want the yellow laser to actually appear where the spaceship is, move across the screen, and then we want it to disappear when it gets to this end, this side of the screen. So I'm using when space key pressed, so when I press the space key, that's like my fire button, and then I've used this one that says go to X, Y. So if I just take this block out here, you'll see it says go to X, Y that I've got from motion. So it's basically this block here. So I've put that on and I've said go to X minus 169. So what that means, if I get hold of this and start to move it around, you'll see these coordinates change. And if I move this up, then roughly round about there, 169 is about there. So it means it's going to go in a position there across the screen from there. So it's going to be somewhere at the tip of the laser. So oops, just move that back to the laser. So it's going to be at the tip of the laser. Now what I then want it to do, the Y position, I don't want it to stay in the middle of the screen. I'll just go back. I don't want the rocket, the laser, to stay in the middle of the screen. I want it to move up and down. So when the spaceship moves up and down, the laser moves up and down as well. Okay, so what I've done here is I'll say I want it to go to Y position of rocket ship. So if I put that in there, so where did I get this piece of code here? Well, that's actually in sensing. It's light blue, isn't it? And it's quite hard to find, really. So I've got this one that says backdrop of stage, and we want to change it from backdrop of stage. And what I'm going to do is if I change that to rocket ship or whatever this is called in your game, then all these will change to different ones. So now it says X position, Y position. So I've got Y position of rocket ship, and I can pop that in here. Okay, so now I've got that there. I'm going to make it appear. So at the moment, at the start of the game, I'm going to make sure that it's invisible. So really what I could do is have a when green flag clicked hide. So I'll just quickly do that now. So I'm going to get a when green flag clicked, and I'm going to go to looks, and I'm going to hide. So let's get that out of the way. So when the game starts, this yellow laser is going to be hidden. But when I press the space key, it's going to go to the end of the rocket. So wherever the rocket is, it's going to go to the end of it there. So if I click that green flag, it's hidden now and it's invisible. It's just hiding in front of there. But when I press the space bar, it's going to show. So it will appear when I press the space bar just in front of the rocket. And then what I want it to do is I want it to move across the screen. And so that's this piece of code here. So if I look at this, it says repeat until. So I've got this block of code that says repeat until. So keep doing whatever is inside this repetition until this happens. So you're going to keep doing it until the laser gets to the X position that's bigger than 220. So what does that mean? Well, what that means is it's going to keep doing it until the laser gets over to this side of the screen. And you'll see that the X position, when it's roughly round about here, then it's going to stop. So it's going to keep doing whatever's in here until it gets to there. And then so it's going to keep moving 10 steps until it gets to there. And when it gets to there, it's going to hide. So it will keep doing that, move across the screen. When it gets there, it finishes this repeat until, and then it hides. So to make this block here, what I've done is I've just gone to operators, and I've just got a greater than symbol, and I've gone to the motion, and I've got the block that says X position in there. Okay, so if I've done that, then that will start to work. So I'll just throw this away because I've already got my example here. So you'll see when I press the space bar, now it fires. But if I move up and down, it fires from the rocket. It doesn't stay just in the middle of the screen because it's following the rocket because of that blue code that says go to X minus 169 Y position of rocket ship. This example is a little bit different because instead of being moving vertically or horizontally, our main character stays in the middle and rotates and fires. So it turns around like this and then it fires. Okay, so if I just stop the game. So the main thing here is that when we rotate, the bullet needs to rotate with the snowman. So in the other games, it's very easy. You just make it move up the screen or move across the screen, make the bullet move up or move across. In here, it's got to follow this snowman. When he turns, the bullet has got to rotate as well. So if we go to the code here for the bullet, which I've called bullets here, and then let's just have a look at the code that we've used here. So we've got, when you press the space key, you show this. So at the start of it, it's hidden. So I've got, when the green flag is clicked, the bullet is hidden and it's actually pointing this way. That I don't suppose that last part's that important. But here, so it's hidden, and then when the space key is pressed, it becomes visible and it goes to the snowman. So for that, I've got this go to random position and I've just changed it down to snowman. So that's how I've done that part there. And then it says point towards direction of snowman. So we'll have a look and see if we can find this. So we've got this one that says point towards mouse pointer here. We've got that. And then under sensing, so I think we've shown this in the previous shooting video. You've got one under here that says, just here it says backdrop of stage. And so if I change this from stage to snowman, then you'll see I can change this so that it says direction of snowman. So it's going to point towards the direction of the snowman. So whichever way the snowman is facing, that is going to face the same way. So if I get hold of this code and put that in there, that's how I make this piece of code here. So I've also recorded myself making a little shooting sound like that. And then the bullet, when it's fired, I'm using repeat until, so it's going to keep repeating until the bullet touches the edge of the screen, so any of the edges. It's going to keep moving 10 steps, so it'll keep moving 10 steps, and then when it touches the edge of the screen, it's going to hide the bullet. So the bullet, as I move the snowman round, whichever direction the snowman is facing, the bullet will move in that direction. So let's have a look at how we can make a non-playable character fire back. So we've got an invader at the top of the screen here, and when the game starts, the invader moves across the screen and it fires. So we're not really looking at how it moves in this, we're looking at how it fires. So I've done this two ways. So if I just stop the game, you'll see that on this one I've got, when the game starts, when the green flag clicks, I'm doing this forever. So we're going to wait for 2 seconds. So we've actually got it hidden. So if I just move up here, to start with, the bullet's hidden. So that's the important thing. Whichever one we're going to do, we're hiding this enemy laser. So I'm going to wait 2 seconds. I'm going to show the bullet and it's going to go to the invader. So the bullet is going to appear just on the invader there. So you'll see, just like in the other examples, I've used go to random position and I've changed it to go to invader 1. So that's how I've made the bullet appear at the space invader. And then this next bit of code is how it moves down the screen. So I've got repeat 30. So repeat 30 times, change the Y coordinate by -10. So the Y coordinate, remember, is this vertical coordinate. So it goes down by 10, down by 10, down by 10, down by 10. And it does that 30 times. That's what that bit does. So I can use that to move. And then when that's finished, it hides. So it goes to the bottom of the screen and it hides. So that works perfectly well. So you might find that you need to change some of these numbers, this repeat by 30. And the closer it gets to the bottom of the screen, the longer it might wait for it to disappear, for it to fire again. So that's one way of doing it. So that works okay. And then there's another way of doing it that we've got over here. So I'll just swap these around. So on this one, it does exactly the same thing. So if I join this code up and run this code now, you'll see that it does exactly the same thing. So you can do things in different ways. So the first bit's just the same. So like I've said, when the green flag's clicked, we hide the bullet. So that code's up there, just like before. And then forever, wait 2 seconds, show, go to invader. So that's just the same. So this bit is slightly different. So I've used repeat until touching edge. So keep doing what's inside the loop until you touch the edge of the screen. So the edge of the screen is the bottom bit here. So keep doing this until you touch the edge of the screen. So keep changing Y by -10. So keep changing it. So I suppose this is probably the better way of doing it. So it doesn't have to, the bullet doesn't have to do as many changes by -10 till it gets to the bottom. Then, so you do this, and then after that's finished, so you repeat until it's touching the edge, and when it's touching the edge, you stop repeating and you come down here and you hide it. But then because it's in a forever loop, it comes back and it does it all again. So those are 2 ways that you can make an enemy fire.